Right, just a quick one today. Gonna film this on my phone. I've got a little update for you actually on the eGR group set. Quick recap for you. So I've been testing a prototype electronic gravel group set from a Chinese company called L-TWOO for the last few weeks. I've already discovered a pretty big issue with the waterproofing. So I washed this thing down with a garden hose after a muddy ride, and the rear derailleur just stopped working for 2 days until it had completely dried out. Since then, I've been using it quite a lot actually, and it's been fine up until a couple of days ago. So I recently added this oval chainring onto my gravel bike here, and I wanted to give it a proper shakedown. So I took this bike to a set of local woodland trails near me, and it worked great for about 20 minutes until there was a bit of a crunch followed by this sound. Crunchy. So I took my bike to the side of the trail because I couldn't figure out what the problem was, and I was sat there for a couple of minutes until I realised what had happened, and it absolutely, I was a bit speechless to be honest with you, because it's never happened to me before. So let me show you the problem. So the jockey wheels on the derailleur here were grinding into the cassette, hence that noise. And my first thought was, yeah, it's got to be something to do with the B adjustment screw. Maybe that had fallen out, but it wasn't that. It turns out it was to do with this swing arm on the back here. So I think this arm is called a shadow link on Shimano derailleurs. But let me pull this off and I'll show you the issue. Okay, so here it is off the bike here, and this swing arm on the back, it's free moving, and that's on purpose because when you set the B adjustment screw on the back there, you can then push it against this swing arm, and that basically controls how close you want the derailleur running to the cassette, basically, so you can fine tune the shifting. But if I spin this over, you'll notice something has clearly snapped off there because we're down to bare aluminium. So there was a little nub sticking off at 90 degrees because this design is just a bit odd. So you can see the B adjustment screw there. It's recessed within this joint for some reason. So if I show you, can you see? It's like recessed in there. So it necessitated them having to have a weird piece of metal jutting out at 90 degrees. And as I was bouncing along the trail, clearly the leverage was too much and it snapped clean off. Okay, here's another rear derailleur to provide a point of comparison. And in fact, it's from L-TWOO's ERX group set. So this is the road version of their electronic group sets. And it's got this same swing arm design, but you can see the B adjustment screw there is offset. It's not recessed within this joint here. And that means that you can have a much sort of meatier piece of aluminium on this swing arm. So that's the piece that interacts with the B adjustment screw there. There's very little chance of this snapping off. That's going to require a lot more force. So this is in many ways a more robust design. So for whatever reason, maybe there were more space constraints with this eGR group set, because like I've shown you, it's recessed in that joint for some reason. So that means there's a lot more leverage on this sort of piece of metal that was sticking out. And as I was bumping down the trail, it was too much and it snapped off. So I got hold of my contact at L-TWOO to give him the good news the other day, but apparently they've already fixed this issue in the latest iteration of this group set. So I'm gonna have to wait until I get my hands on the sort of final retail version before I can see if they fixed this, and also that waterproofing issue as well. So yeah, fingers crossed I'll send it soon. I've got no sort of timeline on when I'm gonna get hold of it, so yeah, be patient, I suppose. Anyway, in the meantime, I think I found a way to keep the rear derailleur on this group set in place using these washers that I bought. Right then, with the rear derailleur back on the bike, you can kind of see my dilemma. So it's completely useless as it sits right now. I mean, the whole derailleur functions properly, but as soon as I put the chain on, that jockey wheel is going to smash against the cassette like so. I'm not going to be able to shift. I can't use it. This bolt here is done up nice and tightly, but it's designed to always be free moving. So I need to find a way to provide some friction between these two surfaces, between this arm at the back and the derailleur. And after some sort of Googling, I found that these exist. So these are locking washers. You can see they've got little serrations on the edges there. So my thinking is if I put one of these between those two surfaces there, I should be able to lock the derailleur in position and therefore not really need this B adjustment screw.
A few moments later.
Okay, right, hopefully you can see I've got one of those locking washers there between those two surfaces. And now this rear derailleur is locked in the right place and it shifts really nicely, actually. It's worth stating as well, this is not an official sanctioned repair from L-TWOO. This is something I've come up with completely of my own fruition. So I'm not sure if I recommend it, but it does appear to have worked. It's also worth stating, rear derailleurs with this swing arm design, they don't need to move in the same way that traditional ones did. So on more traditional rear derailleurs like this, as you were changing up and down the cassette, the rear derailleur did need to kind of shift slightly and they were sort of designed to move. But this one can be locked in place here and still function perfectly. So let me show you. Right to the top, no grinding. All the way back down. So yeah, works absolutely fine. So for the time being at least, we're back in business. Now, I released a short about this particular problem, was it yesterday or the day before? And quite a lot of the comments on there were negative, and that's understandable, right? Because, I'm showing something is broken, something has failed. But a lot of the comments said stuff like, you're the world's most underpaid beta tester. And it's completely true, because it's exactly what I signed up for. So as I've mentioned time and again, this is not a full retail version. It's a test kind of prototype model. And this is the letter that actually came along from L-TWOO with the group set. So you can see you're one of the first 10 users. Thank you for your support. I invite you to test this product. It's the first batch, and if you encounter any issues, contact that person, and I've redacted their name for privacy. We'll continue to upgrade it, and once it's ready, we'll send you the full sort of formal version for you to look at, the retail one. So, I'm happy to do that. I was raring to test out this group set actually, because in my opinion, the last release they did, their ERX, the road version of these electronic group sets, it wasn't done very well in my opinion. So they released it to the public and you could buy it, but whilst they were selling it, they actually made changes to the product in the background in hardware and software. And the only way that you as a consumer and also us as reviewers were able to see these changes that were being made was by actually comparing physical versions of the group set. So this is a much better way of doing things. It means that I can bring you along with the product development, and that's a level of transparency you would never get with one of the big boys. Like, imagine Shimano had a prototype group set and they let someone from like GCN have a look at it. They would have very strict editorial guidelines of what they could and couldn't show and what they could say. L-TWOO packaged this up, sent it to me, and that was it. Like, they have absolutely no control over what I say. They've never censored me. They see the videos at exactly the same time as you do. I never send them any footage, beforehand or anything like that. So I have a lot of respect for L-TWOO actually for doing that. That's a bit of a risky play, but I love being involved with it. I love being able to show you, these failures and show you how this product is hopefully going to develop. So once we get the full release version, then I think free reign to be critical. But for now, do bear in mind, it's a test platform. So yeah, there we go. Ramble over, I suppose. And yeah, have to wait until we get the full version. Anyway, right, see you next time. Ciao.